The time is now 7:02. I'll now call this meeting of the Bridgewater Town Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's Town Council meeting is being streamed live via YouTube. Please go to the Town of Bridgewater Facebook page for the link. I do have a number of condolences. I'd like to recognize the following veterans who have passed. Edward Clem, U.S. Air Force, passed away on January 18th. Delano Kane, U.S. Army, Korean era, passed away on January 21st. William Nee, U.S. Army paratrooper, Grenada, passed away on January 29th. And Thomas Griffin, U.S. Navy, Korea, passed away on February 1st. Please join me in a moment of silence for these veterans and all Bridgewater veterans who have passed and their families. Thank you. First up, item A, we have approval of minutes from previous meetings. Do I have a motion for approval for our January 21st meeting?
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. This is for our joint meeting with the our Bridgewater Town Council here and the Finance Committee and with the school district and Rainham as well. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have a approval for meeting minutes from February 3rd. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
A motion?
Second.
And a second, thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Announcements for the president. I do not have much this evening. I would like to remind everybody that we do have the Charter Review Committee appointments. We are entertaining all residents who like to apply to be a part of that committee. There's some information at the front if you'd like to pick that up. We are accepting applications no later than March 11th. And please send an email outlining your interest and qualifications to our town council clerk. That's dward@bridgewaterma.org. At the moment, we only have 2 residents who have applied so far. So if you'd like to serve in that committee,
One came today.
Oh, 3. So now we have 3. If you would like to serve in that committee, please put your name forward.
Quick question. How many on the committee? Do we know?
Is it 7?
7.
7.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So we definitely need a few more to fill those seats. Okay, that's all that I have for this evening. We do not have any proclamations, so we'll now open up citizen open forum for anybody that would like to make any comments specifically for any candidates who are potentially up for appointment this evening for District 1. If we do hold those interviews, if the council chooses to fill that seat, we will have a citizen comment period during that time. So if you do have specific comments, you may want to reserve those for that period if we move forward with that appointment. That being said, we will now open up citizen open forum. Due to Massachusetts open meeting law requirements, discussions will not take place during public comment periods. If appropriate, responses to questions and concerns will be given by the town manager at a future town council meeting. Anyone may comment at this time for up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Good evening, Janet Hansen, Pleasant Street. I'm talking about the Order 0FY26048, appointment to a vacant district councillor seat, District 1 councillor seat. My husband and I have resided in District 1. My husband has been there all his life, 70 years. I've been there since 1978, 47 and a half years. We do not want the town council to appoint a councillor to represent us. We want to choose by election. To appoint someone to fill this vacancy for such a short time seems unnecessary, since it's only 66 days away from the town election. That's not a long time. If the vacancy was further away from the town election, I would push for a special election, so we, the residents of District 1, could vote on who we want and not what the town council members want. There is no time for a special election now, and it wouldn't make sense even financially, even if there was a little bit of time. But there's no time to do a special election in 66 days. Our district will survive for the next 66 days without representation. After all, we have 6 counselors at large representing everyone in town. We want to have a say as to who represents us for the next 66 days, but like I said, special election doesn't seem possible due to the short time. It wouldn't make sense. So I implore the members of the town council to vote no to fill the District 1 vacancy and just have us all wait until this town election in April. Again, that's only 66 days away. Unless you can approve a special election, I do not want town council to choose for me for a representative in my district precinct. 66 days, I keep saying it, but that's not a long time to wait. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Scott Pitta, Pine Street. Janet, I'm going to disagree with you. We don't disagree often, but I'm going to disagree with you. The town council should appoint a District 1 councilor tonight. The people of District 1 deserve representation in that seat. 66 days may seem short, but you're in the heart of budget season. Yes, there's only 4 meetings, but if a council member is only working during the meetings, I put to you that council member is not doing their job. These meetings are the tip of the iceberg. The majority of the work happens outside of these meetings in subcommittees and committees, meeting with the town manager, meeting with constituents. Right now, we know from the last meeting, the town manager mentioned the possibility of putting a new town well on Vernon Street in District 1. There's no dedicated voice representing the people of District 1 while that discussion is happening. Someone should be in that seat, having the discussions with the town manager, having the discussions with the residents. I don't want to get into too much detail on the charter, but the charter says you shall appoint. I understand the town attorney and I differ in our opinions. And I believe the hypothetical of what happens if nobody comes forward to be appointed is irrelevant because you have 6 people that have come forward seeking appointment. But even if that were the case and nobody came forward, the town council is not violating the charter by not appointing somebody. They're unable to appoint somebody. Where you would risk violating the charter is when you have someone who is eligible comes forward seeking appointment and you choose not to. I don't want to dwell too much on that point. The more important issue here is the people of District 1 want representation on that council. And you have 6 people here, I think 5 of the 6 people that have applied are here tonight asking you, let the people of District 1 have a voice for the next 2 months. Do not silence that voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, Bob Cormier, Grange Park. I'm actually not going to talk about appointments or an election or a District 1 seat. I wanted to publicly thank Senator Bill Driscoll. He did something really outstanding, and he did it quietly, and I just want everybody to know why. So, unfortunately, a few years ago, a wonderful family, the Hubbard family, Maggie and her young daughter were killed in a fire in upstate New York in a rental property that didn't have smoke detectors. And they left behind another toddler son and her husband that is a police officer on Cape Cod. Her family sponsored legislation to basically have governance for smoke detector inspection in rental properties, which is very much needed. Like most things, the bill was stalled in the Senate. It was in the Ways and Means Committee. And I essentially cold messaged Bill on his Facebook page and just said, thank you for coming to Bridgewater. Thank you for advocating for us. Completely different topic. Can you just send a message to your colleagues? And not only did he reply, he co-sponsored the bill and is going to take personal accountability to see it through. He doesn't know these people. They're not, they didn't reach out to him directly. He just found something as an obvious win and went out of his way to push that legislation through. The only reason that's what good government looks like, but the only reason I share that is that was a cold message on his Facebook page, on his campaign Facebook page. If we have our citizens in our community continue to reach out to our state representatives, particularly Mr. Driscoll, he's going to respond, whether that's on water infrastructure, all the problems that we have in town with school funding. I reached out on a random bill, and he got right back to me and took action and is going to push that thing through. So I'm just encouraging everyone to continue to reach out to our representatives, especially on things like infrastructure and funding for our schools. That's all. So just want to say thank you to him.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Timothy Trocchio. You know, I wish we had a step stool for this. This is pretty tall, you know, so I gotta bend this down. But I just want to say, I can lower it. I'm just kidding. So I just want to say thank you for Bob Cornier for bringing that up. I also like to point out and say thank you to Dennis Gallagher. Today he did secure over $500,000 in infrastructure in funding for the downtown area. I think it's really important that we continue to be involved in this process. Being involved in government is not new to me. This is something that I've been very familiar with all the way from the state, local, and federal level. I'm not just going to come here and say, pretend that I'm not here seeking a political angle. That's not who I am. I would like for the people of the district to vote for their counselor, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not going to stand for something and say like, oh, my first time I reached out to the state senator was under these circumstances. I reach out to the state senator on a regular basis and meet with the state senator on a regular basis up in Boston. I know his number, I know him personally, as well as our state representative. So I just like to put that out there. These state senators, these politicians, they work for us. We should be working for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Janet Hanson again, Pleasant Street. I just, it was unclear to me, and I couldn't remember, if you were to appoint someone to fill that vacancy, is there a waiting period before they actually can sit in that chair or vote on things? And if there's also, if they're allowed to vote on something that's already in process that they haven't been a part of yet? I know in some committees you can't do that, so I was just wondering on those two questions, which would be important for your decision tonight, but it would be nice to know if somebody can start right away or if there's a little bit of a waiting period, like a week or two, and if you can answer that, that'd be great. And also, are they allowed to vote on something that's been in place before they've been part of that discussion? Especially even like minutes. You can't vote on minutes if you're not part of the minutes. That's a given anytime. So those are some of the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak?
Eric Christensen, South Drive. I just wanted to agree with what Jana was saying earlier, that we should wait for, either have a special election or wait until the 6 days has passed. So District 1 gets a voice in that decision. And I agree, we have at-large counselors that will represent our district just fine. I trust you guys. So, anyway, I just wanted to add my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Okay, thank you very much. Now we are looking to take a couple of things out of order. I would entertain a motion to take item F, hearings, out of order. Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion to take F out of order.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we are now going to move on to hearings. These are time sensitive because they are advertised. So thank you, Councilor Lindy, for doing that. So we do have petition P 2026-016, multiple amendment application for an alcohol establishment. This is for Kodak LLC, DBA Pages 3 Beer and Wine at 233 Broad Street. I'm just going to ask our town manager to give us a little background info on this, if we do have any.
Yep, just briefly, there's a couple of adjustments here. There's change of manager request, change of officers, as well as change of ownership interests. That information is in the packet. They've submitted all the documentation associated with that, and there's no issues on the town end of the things.
Thank you. The time is 7:17. I'll now open the public hearing. Did you have something?
So I do have a question. I remember this coming before us a couple of times before, so it looks like there's more changes, and I'm just kind of wondering why.
Yeah, so maybe the petitioner could give us a little bit of insight.
Hi, my name is Jay Kumar Kotak. I'm the owner of the Kotak LLC, Pages 3 Beer and Wine, located inside the Roche Brothers. So the current manager, Mandeep Singh, he wanted to move away from the business, and I was the majority owner before until now, and now I'm taking full control. 100% I'll be the owner and the manager of the LLC.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other comments at this time, or is that
No,
summarized?
I've been working there since I bought that store. I'm tip certified. I know like how to run it and everything.
Great, thank you. Are there any general questions from the public at this time? Seeing none. Anyone from the public like to speak in favor? Seeing none. And is there anyone from the public like to speak in opposition? And seeing none. Councilors, do we have any questions?
Thank you. Just a quick question. Is the store staying in Roche Brothers at this time? I thought I heard it might have been moving out.
No, everything's staying as it is. Nothing's changing. Just a little bit amendments inside the corporation in my LLC. Nothing else. Everything's gonna be running as is.
As it's been.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Anything further, councilors? Okay, seeing none, I'll now close the hearing. It is 7:19 p.m. And with that being said, I'll ask for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
made and a second. Any further discussion from councilors? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have ordinance FY 26-007. This is an ordinance establishing the process for filling a vacant town councilor role. This is a public hearing notice in the February 3rd, 2026 Enterprise. I'll now open the hearing at 7:20 p.m. and I'll ask our co-sponsors, Councilor Kennedy or Councilor Murphy, if either one of you would like to speak at this time and to remind all of us what's before us.
Sure. This changes the current voting process we've used to fill vacant town council roles. It allows the council to nominate multiple individuals at the same time and hold a larger vote. It also allows the council to vote multiple times for different candidates if they prefer multiple candidates. And the goal at the end of the voting is to have a candidate that has support by the most councilors, and to avoid not having enough people up for nominations so that councilors can voice their support for those individuals.
Thank you. Anything, Councilor Murphy? Great. Are there any general questions from the public at this time? Seeing none, would anyone from the public like to speak in favor?
Eric Christensen, South Drive. I am just in favor of ranked choice voting in general, so I think that's a good idea, a good approach.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anyone from the public like to speak in opposition? And seeing none. So now move on to councilor comments. Any questions, comments from our councilors?
I do have a question, and maybe it's answered, and I just haven't read it quickly enough. But I remember the last time that I think it was the last time that the position was filled. I think we had 5 candidates. I could be wrong, maybe we had 4, and 3 of them had submitted, or 4 of them had given their speeches or had gotten votes for them. And when the second to the last one got the highest number of votes, everything was stopped, that person was seated, and the last person didn't get any votes taken. So if that person would have tied with, this, with the other one, it left one person not receiving any votes. So I'm just trying to look quickly to see, did we make any condition that everyone who was there and seeking a nomination would have a chance to have a vote, regardless of if there had been high-level votes before them?
Yep, as long as they've been nominated by a counselor, they can be in the pool of individuals that can collect votes.
Okay.
And then counselors aren't limited on the votes that they vote at that time.
A counselor can vote more than once
For multiple candidates, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you.
I just think my 2 fellow councilors did yeoman's work on this, and I think we should be ready to move it forward so we have a better process than we've had in the past.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
I did notice something when I was reading back through this that I wish I had picked up a little sooner. I'd consider an amendment for section 4(1). At the end of that, it just states that the town council clerk shall post a public notice, and I just think that that may be in purview of the town's clerk itself, so.
I would agree with that.
So I'm going to make an amendment to change that language from town council clerk to town clerk.
I'll second that.
You have a second? Any discussion on the amendment?
What do you mean by that, Sean? Sorry. What's the language you're referring to in the charter?
Section 4, notification of vacancy.
No, you said it according to the charter?
Nope, the town clerk handles the elections and the public notice. So it would put the town clerk in the position to publicly notice the appointment.
Okay. Instead of the council clerk?
Yes.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the amendment is passed, so now the language reads, the town clerk, so we're just removing the word council, shall post a public notice of the vacancy on the town's official website. Any further discussion from councilors?
Thank you. Just a question to either author. So we have on section 8, the effective date says the ordinance shall take effect immediately upon approval of the council and publication in ordinance with local and state laws. Does this have to be published again before this is actual in effect, or what is our time frame that this would take effect?
Immediately.
Immediately?
Yep.
Okay.
Based on the fact that it's not subject to referendum, so it's one of the things that you all have purview over that doesn't need to wait that amount of time before it becomes official.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple items that I want to bring to the discussion, and I appreciate the work that you guys did. The process itself, I think, is great, and I think it accomplishes a lot of the things that people have brought up. And I'll continue to kind of reiterate my position. You know, the chart, I think that the language here, again, it's open to interpretation. We disagreed on this before, but I think that this does conflict with the charter where it says that the town council shall appoint. This right here says that the town council will vote as to whether or not it intends on filling the vacancy. I personally would move to strike that. So I'm going to make a motion to remove Section 3 altogether, and that may not pass here, but I wanted to just bring it to the council's deliberation to consider removing that. I think that the council should make every effort that we can to appoint, and if we're not able to appoint somebody, if those appointment if the nominations fail, then we just would continue to do that. I think that there's a potential situation where somebody steps down a year out, and then we choose not to appoint somebody a year out, and then we could have a district not being represented for an entire year just because the remaining 8 counselors decided to not appoint that position. And I would like some language to require us to make our very best effort. So I would make a motion to just strike Section 3 altogether. I don't know if I have a second on that. Okay, I guess not. So that being said, I have a couple other notes. So under Section 3, it also says if the vote is not passed, the seat will remain vacant until the following scheduled town election, or if so decided by the town council, a special election. I don't see any other language in here that enables the town council to voluntarily enact a special election unless it decides to pass the vote and the vote fails at the appointment process. But maybe I'm reading that incorrectly.
Can you clarify that?
Yeah, so the language in Section 3 says if the vote is not passed, the seat will remain vacant until the following scheduled town election, or if so decided by the town council, a special election. So what would trigger the ability for the town council to just decide that we want to have a special election?
Just in your Section 7, subsection 3 on election timeline, the first line is a special town election shall be called and held within 90 days if the council's failure to appoint a candidate.
Yes, so that would require a yes vote in order to go through the appointment process. And it seems that a special election is only triggered in the event that there is a yes vote and then the appointment fails. This section, Section 3, says if the vote is not passed, then the town council may decide to hold a special election. Councilor Lindy.
Can I make a suggestion that we not wordsmith on the fly? We have a Rules and Procedures Committee to deal with this.
This came from Rules of Procedures.
But you're asking to change it, and I think Rules and Procedures should discuss it. And I don't think we should do it at a council meeting.
Well, I don't know how else we could do it. If we want, we can close the hearing and send it back to Rules and Procedures, but it's, I think it's important. I'm not going to vote to approve this when there's very vague language here.
Just a follow-up on that, I guess my understanding when I was writing this would be, and it may not be clear on here, so I agree with that, but that we would follow the process outlined up until Section 6, and if we can't successfully follow that, it would trigger a special re-election, which would require town council vote anyways, again, right, to move forward that. So essentially, we'd be voting twice on the same question, I guess.
Yeah, my concern is that we don't even get to Section 6 unless we vote yes to appoint.
Right, well, wouldn't we vote yes for a special election anyways?
Later, after we vote yes.
I don't know if it's any different than our current process. I think that's,
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
if that's what you're looking to rectify is the.
I mean, if
so-
we could just delete that line, I would have no problem with it. It's just that it's kind of ambiguous. It's suggesting that we could just decide to have a special election with no effort to appoint.
With no, I mean, if in the same scenario that we currently have, if we were in a scenario where there was 6 months out, and we voted it down, this allows us to bring it back to the table to vote on it again for a special election, or to create a scenario where we're going to have a special election.
There's
It
additional
doesn't,
language in the charter that addresses that.
it doesn't have any different change, yeah, there's no changes really from the charter on this. The charter has the same vague language where there is no time limit. And part of the reason, there are 2 separate sections, and one of them is a fail-safe if an entire voting process goes through to, so you're right, they're kind of saying 2 different things. If you, I mean, you could add the 90-day requirement in there as well, or if so decided by the town council, we could strike that and say that if there is a vacancy, that if it's outside the 90-day window, we can call a special election. Timing out with a special election versus not just having a 90-day window itself, but when our election season opens and when it closes is also a time frame to consider. So you don't want to call a special election in February when we have an election in April. So if you put a hard cap on it, without some kind of language that allows you to extend it to a regular election, then you're going to put the town through 2 election processes in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
It's going to cost us more money.
So so if you're looking for very, very clean language on it, I mean, you'd either extend it out further than 90 days, or you could put the language in there to make that change and do a 90-day, but again, you could have an election, in the beginning of February, and also have one at the end of April, or the end of January, and then once again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change much in that respect to the current process we have now, where we could go 6 months without filling a seat. But this does allow the council to revisit it if the council feels they need to fill the seat, or if there's no individuals that come forward in October, but they come forward in November, it allows you to bring it back. But if you're looking for a hard time frame, that is a bit of a sticky kind of thing to get through, to make it so we're not doubling up on an election season unnecessarily, but also allowing the council to, I guess, kind of do what they're doing right now, which is deciding whether or not we fill a seat.
I'll just add to that, too, that the charter does get into specifics about the particular seat that's involved, whether they leave in the early parts of their term or the latter parts of their term that we've run into before. The stickiness gets into the middle portion where it doesn't really address, that as well. So in just regards to this line, I feel that it's saying if the vote is not passed to move forward with a vote for that, the seat is going to remain vacant until the next election, which, again, say in this particular situation, it's within close proximity to the next election, or if so decided by the council, the special election, which again, we would have the decision to do so based on the time frame that we have, whether it be the 90 days as we're mentioning, or 60 days. So I think leaving it with a little bit of wiggle room for the council to make that call based on the time frame of wherever we're sitting where that seat is open, kind of gives the council the ability to make that call, and I think it should be the town council's call to do that. And again, it goes back to the original vote, whether we decide to fill the seat or not. So I like the language as written. I don't think you want to probably put too much detail that locks you or pigeonholes you into a certain situation. I think it does allow a little bit of wiggle room based on the rest of the document to decide on the timing of a potential special election.
Got it.
Yeah, if we had an election in November that we wanted to add a council seat to, and that council seat became vacant in June, you could, instead of us voting, we could opt out of that vote and instead elect to send it to a vote for the town for a special election.
Okay, that makes sense. I've got a couple other just clarifying things, so I did want to make sure that we put a lot of effort into this, that we do it right. Section 6, if we go to the voting process, all nominated candidates shall be voted on by the council members who are recognized as active participants in the meeting. So did you all intend on it being a majority of only those present and not a majority of the council? Because, I mean, it's unlikely to happen, but we did have a meeting recently where we didn't have a full council. So should it be the majority of those present, or should it be a majority of the council?
Which section is this?
Section 6.2.
Could I just say something? If someone's on Zoom, aren't they actively participating?
Yeah, I'm just saying if for some reason we didn't have, so now you're in this situation, you're at a minimum of 8, maybe you have multiple vacancies, you could have only 7 counselors, right? And then now your threshold for majority is 4, assuming they all show up. So I'm just thinking through.
Mr. President? I would just say as long as there's a quorum of the council to go forward with any type of procedural vote, then that should be sufficient to move forward on this particular situation.
So we would feel comfortable appointing somebody if you only had 3 counselors or 5 counselors?
You'd have to have 5. But again, having a quorum of the council present to do town business is all you need to do town business.
So if you only had 5, a 3 would be majority, so 3 counselors could decide an appointment? I wouldn't be comfortable with that.
I know, but it'd be highly unlikely. I don't think we would have a meeting with only 5 members, but that's how the council works, and that's how the rules of voting goes for a council, so.
It also, I understand what you're saying, Mr. President. I also would like to add that if we have a situation where we have additional counselors, or 2 out at a time, or 2 have resigned at a time, it still allows this process to move forward. So if you'd have to have you still need to reach a majority of who is present, and Zoom does count. So it allows the voting process to take effect even if there are either multiple absences or multiple resignations from councilors. So you still have to reach a majority. So if none of the nominations reach that majority, they're not going to be elected anyways. But I understand what your concern with that.
That's what I was wondering, if the next one under, that describes the majority, would mean that if you had a meeting of the council that didn't have a majority, you wouldn't be able to do this vote.
Couldn't act.
Right.
So,
Without a quorum.
yeah.
Yeah, if you have a quorum, you just need a simple majority. I have a concern about that. I don't know, I guess everybody else is fine with it.
It does describe the majority as being more than half the council members, right? In that middle definition there. So I don't know what you call half of 9.
So you'd have to have
You know,
a minimum of
4.5.
6 participants at that meeting. That, and by definition of this, for purposes of the section, majority shall mean more than half of the council members recognized as active participants in the meeting. So half of the current sitting council members. So if that's 8, you would need more than half, which means you would need 5, and the 5 is going to be the vote anyways. So that would go to 7. You would need 4, but
No.
you still need the quorum though to continue, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. That's all that I have. Anything else?
That's clear now.
Actually, I don't know if it is clear, but if it's good enough for you all, it's good enough.
That's why we have rules and procedures.
So actually, there's one last thing, the election timeline. So do we want to put guardrails on that 90 days? So, if you do vote to appoint somebody, in December and you fail, right? So you have 90 days, like you said, Sean, do we want to open up the ability to, be in violation of this if we don't find it pertinent to hold a special election within 90 days?
I mean, for me, this was one of the only issues that I did want to discuss at the council level, was working that time frame out. So this takes place after a special election is triggered only if we've had a meeting, or the council has had a meeting, and nobody has been elected through that process. It triggers it. So, and in here as well, timing and minimum requirements for holding a special election shall be governed by Mass General Law. I don't know if we can hold this. You know what? I don't actually know if we can hold a special election 30 days out. I don't know if that is something that maybe our town attorney is privy to or not.
Yeah, I don't think that could happen.
Yeah.
As your
Realistically.
former town clerk, I would say no, that doesn't
No.
give you sufficient
Yeah.
time to order the ballots and do everything, and have people sign up and all that. You need
If we fail to act at a certain meeting, we could always post a special meeting to take action on a week that we're not scheduled.
But if you're going for an actual election, if you're not going for
Right.
the town council to do election, if you're going for citizens to do the election, you're going to have to give it
How long would that
90
take?
days, I would say.
90 days?
Because people have to sign up that they're going to want to do it. They have to campaign. You have to order the ballots. You have to get the ballots printed and delivered. All of that, it takes some time.
Maybe we should have it that it is 100 out. A special election can't be called if it's 120 days before an election.
Yeah, I would suggest, provided that there are at least X amount of days before a regular election. And that could be 120, it could be
It could
180
be 90,
days.
but, 120, I was just thinking that gives time for candidates and time for the clerk and all that.
Just again, so looking at potential situations, so say, we ran into this right after an election, say, we have the upcoming election in April, something happened in May, so we're another 5 to 6 months away from a November election where we could potentially add it on to that election. 90 days gives you that. But my guess is, as a council, with that much time frame to a next election, we're going to be more inclined to potentially, fill that seat for that time frame. To me, a lot of it depends on when the timing of the situation is. If it's really close to an election, like we got coming up, then we might be more likely inclined to let the election and the electorate decide the situation. But if we're a ways from an election, then we might want to, at that point in time, to fill the seat so it's not empty for that long a period of time. When we're right in the middle of that election cycle, well, then your 90 days are going to bring you right to the next election anyway. Your only situation that really creeps up is when it's shortly after the election that you're having, either in April or November. Like I said, my feeling is any council at that time will probably work toward filling the spot unless we had absolutely no candidates. And again, 90 days, as a former town clerk has told us, should be a sufficient time to put a special election together. So I don't see going to 120 days would work to our advantage.
Is there also something in the charter about a runner-up candidate? Like, let's say you're electing X number of candidates and the next one in line?
Yeah, that
That goes back to a vote of the prior election. So if someone steps away from their seat within 6 months of their election, then it goes back to the prior vote where the next person with the highest number of votes could fill that seat.
The charter already requires that, right?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you could alter the language to say a special town election shall be called and held no later than 120 days to the next election, which would then not allow you, if you were in that 120-day window, to call that special election. But you're running up again to the timelines.
That might only give you 60 days, though, if you do something along those lines.
And then that would fall into the next one, which is timing and requirements to MGL, which wouldn't allow it.
Right. I think as it's written, it probably suits us the best.
Okay. Any other discussion, councilors? Spent enough time looking through this. No? All right. I will close the hearing. It is now 7:44 p.m. Do I have a motion
Motion.
for approval?
It's for approval.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm a no. Motion carries. Now we are done with hearings. No, wait, I'm sorry. Oh, yes. No, we are done with hearings. We'll now, I'll entertain a motion to take item L, legislation for action, out of order. This is so that we could address the potential appointment for District 1.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we are now on item L, legislation for action. We will now begin with Order FY 26-048, appointment to a vacant District 1 councillor seat. This measure was not referred to committee. 14 days have elapsed per Section 17 of the Council Rules and Procedures. Therefore, this measure may be finally considered this evening. So as we've discussed just now, we do not have a codified process up until just now for how we were to do this. So we are voting if we do want to fill that seat tonight. So I'll just open the floor for comments from councilors, and then we could take a motion when we all seem ready to do so.
So I received calls from many constituents about this, both in my district and in District 1, actually. And I did not get one single person saying that they favored filling this seat. They all told me, especially the District 1 residents, they want to elect their counselor during the town election. So I think we should listen to them. I'm not done. I originally, being a district counselor that was appointed to fill a vacancy, I was originally to fill a vacancy for 4 months. It was during COVID. It got extended to 6 months, okay? But that was a long period of time. I did not get on any committees at that point in time, even though it was extended to 6 months, so it was kind of hard to be a counselor in a way, but there's plenty of other work. I think with 6 at-large counselors representing the town, I'd like to remind people that they have 7 counselors normally, a district counselor and 6. I wished we had done it the other way, quite frankly. I like the way we used to have it. And I did speak with one very qualified candidate that would like to have the seat. I don't want to be disingenuous or disappointing or anything like that, but when I vote, I listen to what my constituents say, and this doesn't affect me personally because it's not my district, but I think the time frame is way too short, and the counselor that would serve, unless he or she was elected to the position, would serve during the budget process, and then if they didn't get elected or didn't decide to stay and just said they would take the temporary appointment, would not get to vote on the budget. So I think we should listen to the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with many of those sentiments by Councilor Lindy. Again, for me, as we were just talking about earlier, I think for me, it has more to do with the time frame as well. We're 2 months away from our election. I'm very happy with the number of people that put their names in for this. I would like to see them all put their names on the ballot, and we'll have a very good race that District 1 will be able to vote who they want to see represent them. But again, if we had appointed someone tonight, it's not a definite that person who's appointed or doing the work on the budget or anything we're doing as a council will be in that seat right after the election. I would hope that any interested candidate who wants to be on the council will be paying attention to the next 4 meetings very closely, looking at the budget numbers. Everything's going to be posted online. Asking questions, please reach out to a counselor and ask any counselor questions as well. I'll be happy to share information with anyone. But I do think it should be the decision this close to an election by the people in the electorate. If we were 6 months away or longer, I wouldn't want to see the seat stay open that longer. And now I'm very happy that we have a process in place that we just voted for. So I will definitely be in support of letting the voters make the decision on this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also say I received many emails from people saying, please let us vote for our representative ourselves. We have a relatively short time to be able to do that and vote for them in the election. And please don't appoint somebody ahead of time for us. So I wrote back to people and said I was going to be supporting that for them. I do believe that they should have their chance to elect their representative.
Any other comments? For me personally, I like having a full council. I think that we should have a full council. I think that the argument that there are at-large councilors, I've seen that used both ways. When I was appointed, I sat out there and I heard that if this was a district appointment, then we should vote to appoint. And I agree with that here. I think that we should have somebody in District 1, even though I am in District 1, I am at large, that should have representation there. I think that we do have a number of items coming up with the budget, with water, with appropriations potentially for authorizations, and who knows where we're at in the next couple months with our water situation, which is continuously ongoing and dynamic. So I personally would like to see a full council. That's where I stand. I think that the charter requires us to do it. So that's where I sit. I don't know if any councilors have any other comments before we make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. The great resumes. I'm hoping everyone puts in for the full-time job, but it's a short 4 weeks. I've gotten a lot of comments from residents, emails, stop me at Roach Brothers and the places I go out. So I'm going to listen to the residents, and I don't think we should fill it. I think the residents should pick, especially where it's a district, their own representative.
Any further comments?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say 6 of us also represent District 1. We represent the whole town. So just want to add that in there.
I just wanted to add that we should let the people decide. So I'm in agreement with the others on this.
I'll just add, I'm in favor of representation, especially if there are selected seats to represent specific areas of town and focus solely on those areas. So I know it's a short time frame, probably in the minority, and that's okay, but I think the representation is important. And as a district rep, I do try to focus solely on my district as much as I also get things from across town. The priority for me as a district rep is my district.
Anything further? Would anyone like to make a motion?
So move
to,
to not appoint today.
Second.
to not appoint, and we have a second. Let's take a roll call on that, please.
Clarify that, sorry. To just yell. Just to being at home. Can you just, can we clarify a yes vote and a no vote for this? A yes vote
Would be to not appoint.
would be to not appoint,
You're not approving the order.
right?
Right.
Okay. Just want to clarify.
Jason, you're not approving the order?
Well,
It's a little-
you have to vote either yes or no on what the order says, so.
Right.
What it says is, in accordance with Section 2-5 of the Town Charter, filling of vacancies, Section B, the Town Council shall fill the vacant District 1 seat with the remaining councilors. The Town Council shall seek applications from interested voters from the town within District 1 and make an appointment to that vacant seat. So I think a no vote means you don't do that. A yes vote means you do. I think you can make a motion to approve and still vote no, right? Because you're just motioning to approve. It doesn't mean you're casting your vote yet. So I think that if you work through it technically speaking, I think there needs to be a motion to approve the order, then a second on that, and then you'll cast each one of your yay or nay votes.
Right.
Okay, I so move.
Point of order, can we
Yeah.
just have the previous motion rescinded?
You need to rescind the previous
Yes.
motion.
Just withdraw.
Yes, I withdraw that
And I'll withdraw the
previous
second.
motion.
So, just to clarify.
So, to clarify, we're going to have a vote such that a yes vote will be to appoint, and a no vote will be to not appoint.
Okay.
We need a
No
motion.
and not.
I'll make a
Yes,
motion to
and-
approve the order.
Yeah.
We have a motion to approve the appointment. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's do a roll call, please.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Ellenberg?
No.
Ms. McGrath?
No.
Mr. Loretti?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
No.
Mr. Murphy?
No.
Ms. Hunt?
No.
And Mr. Lindy?
No.
It's 2 in favor, 6 opposed.
All right. Well, thank you for these, the candidates who put your names in. We appreciate you doing so. Thank you for all of your efforts and all of your time, and thank you for being here tonight. But we will not be moving forward with those appointments. For those who have already pulled papers, best of luck to you, and we hope to have, well, one of you will be up here with us. Hopefully I'll still be here. We'll see. All right. Next up for legislation for action, proposed general ordinance FY 26-004, amendment to Chapter 3, Article 2, Section 1, Business Ethics and Conduct. So we would be entertaining to refer this to advertising. Do I have a motion to do so and a second for discussion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion on this one? I know that, Sean, you may have some amendments to this.
Yes, so this has been sitting for quite a while. I spoke with most of you, I believe. The original order was to change some language. It came to my attention that there was additional dated language in our admin code that is controlled by the state, and that is included on page 129 in the first 2 paragraphs of 130. That was added, but because because the course of action was to discuss with the town manager to ensure that the department heads and everything were correct, there was some added language, added positions that are actually covered under multiple positions in our town. So to ensure that it was done correctly the first time it gets voted on, to pass it, we discussed some of that. So to kind of double back here, 129, first 2 paragraphs were discussed previously as an amendment, and the work that was done in conjunction with the town manager is on page 136. So what I would like to do is make an amendment to replace the language in the ordinance with page 129, the first 2 paragraphs of page 130. It starts with service law, and the second is pursuant to the provisions, as well as page 136, which clarifies the positions.
Could you repeat that, please?
So I'm making an amendment to, is this easier as 2 amendments? Okay. I'm going to make an amendment to add page 129 and the first two paragraphs of 130 for service law in the Bridgewater Home Rule Charter, as well as to civil or criminal prosecution under any other applicable state laws and pursuant to the provisions in Ordinance FY 26004. Those two paragraphs there, I'm going to make an amendment to add those to this ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion. Just seeing that, this ordinance was referred to Rules and Procedures back in September and voted then. We've got some pretty wholesale changes, it seems like, in the language from when they looked at it prior to what we got right now. So before we send this to advertising, I might suggest we send this back to Rules and Procedures for a little re-review and then send it back to us after that. It's, it's been in, committee here for a little while, but it's, I think it would be some due diligence to review this a little bit more depth with a subcommittee, bring it back to us when it's been reviewed and make sure, because I like to get a kind of a whole ordinance kind of written in its, entirety here, instead of going from a variety of pages for something to send to advertising as one document. So I think it needs some re-review before we send to advertising, Mr. President.
I would concur with Dr. Perry.
Well, the motion on the floor is to amend, which is, as Councilor Kennedy said, to include 129 and the first two paragraphs of 130 to the original language. So do we have any further discussion on that, and then we can move to?
Yeah, as far as amendments, I would vote to support the amendments, but, after that, as far as the vote goes, I would just request to send it back to Rules and Procedures. But I'm in favor of his amendments at this point in time.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? This is just on the amendment.
I'd agree with the counselor, just so that we could really read it for what it is, once the things have been rearranged and put in different places or anything like that, so we knew exactly what we're voting for.
Any further discussion on amending the language? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now we have this as amended, so,
I'm going to make a motion for another amendment.
yep.
It's to include page 136. And then hopefully that comes back out of committee as a completed
Because we just did 129 and 130, right? Okay,
Oh, I'm
so.
sorry. So this is for one. Oh, I thought that was all included in that first
I
amendment.
thought that you had amended it
No,
with both.
I made an amendment for just those two.
Just those two?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so 136, I'll second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So as amended, the ordinance now reads as provided, and then with the addition of page 129 and the first two pages of 130, and then page 136. So,
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to re-refer this to Rules and Procedures as opposed to sending it to advertising at this time.
Second.
okay. Any discussion on that? Okay, so just to be clear, we're looking for, I know because Councilor Kennedy is in Rules Procedures, so is Marion and Councilor Lindy. We're looking to just bring this all together as one article with it all complete.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that would work, Mr. Kennedy on this pretty closely too, just to make sure it comes out the way he's intending it to.
Cool. So just so that we're clear, so it goes to committee and comes back and is all tidied up. So, okay. All those in favor of referring to Rules and Procedures, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, last up for legislation for action, we now have Resolution FY 26-007, an assessment of the reuse of former Town Hall, AKA the Townhouse. I'll ask Councilor Ellenberg if I think she has some amendments on this as well.
Well, the original form of the article is in here, and then the grant application that was done through the town manager's office is in the agenda, and then at the end, on page 151, are the amendments to the original resolution, which is what I would like to be brought forward today.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to add those amendments?
Well, yes. I would like the amendments on page 151 out of 169 to be voted upon affirmatively. I would hope that the council would support the restoration and renovation of our old town hall called Townhouse, and that the council would endorse the efforts to proceed on this case.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second on the amendment?
I'll second the amendment.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So I read the Old Town Hall study, and Mr. Colin Simmons reviewed the existing structure condition, and that was back in 2020. And he stated that the results of the evaluation is limited to visual observations of the accessible areas only. Therefore, additional damage or other unforeseen conditions may be present. He stated that the town hall will need a modern code mandate, a seismic force, and changing the town hall reuse. He said it is likely that any adaptive reuse of the town hall building will be extensive and involve the modifications to most areas of the building. Changes classified as level 3 and the minimum requirement established for level 1 and 2. So it's been 6 years since the 2020 assessment, which wasn't very thorough, and the building is a majority built of wood frames, both inside and out, and has timber girders in the basement. So I think before we spend money on doing the reuse, I think we should get a thorough assessment, because even Mr. Collins said that he couldn't see the framing of the second floor, so he doesn't know the weight bearing. And I'd like to see a cost assessment to bring the building up to the code, since we have to do level 1, 2, and 3.
That's what this grant is about, for the assessments to be done.
I didn't see assessment. I saw, all I see in here, not the assessment of the structure. I saw a mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and life safety systems, and the interior, what you want to save.
Yes.
But not the structure of the building.
Well, you know that the town of Bridgewater has already invested money in it and has done the exterior restoration, insulation in the attic, shingling of the roof, and this was supervised by the Community Preservation Committee. And I would like the Community Preservation Committee to get on board with this and get going, even though things fell down for a few years. Time to get it going again and get this moving.
I just want to ask a question of our town manager. We already applied for this grant, is that correct?
The grant that's referenced in this original resolution, we already applied for this. Yes, so.
So this is not contingent upon our approval or anything like that? It's already moving forward?
No.
Could I
Okay.
ask a question, Mr. Town Manager? The grant that you applied for, could that be used for assessment of the structure of the building?
No, but I agree with what you said. I do think that work needs to be done. It's separate. This specific grant that we applied for is largely predicated on, give me a second, mechanical, electrical, and life savings or systems.
Plumbing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's
So it
more what
won't
that
be-
grant is structured around.
Okay, so we wouldn't even know what the cost to bring it up to code. We couldn't use the grant for that either. All right.
No, just
Not
the
through this
assessment.
process.
May I point out one other thing in the discussion, and that is that the Community Preservation Committee, the CPC, receives taxpayer funds through our prior town legislation and has a fund for such things as historic preservation, restoration, open space, things of that nature. In fact, Ms. Hunt knows about it better than me, but we do have funds potentially that can be responsibly invested in town hall, in the old town hall and townhouse, and work can proceed. There are funds available.
We do have a number of counselors that have comments, so I'll start with Counselor Lindy and Dr. Perry.
Those funds have to be applied for. There has to be a grant application that goes, and there's a whole process that goes along with it. I'm in favor of doing something with the old town hall, but there needs to be a whole procedure and a process going forward.
Dr. Perry?
Yes, actually, through you, Mr. President, to the town manager, what was the approximate amount of the grant that we were applying for? Do we have an idea, or we just get what we get?
It's a small amount. I think it was in between $10,000 to $15,000.
Okay, and that was just to assess what, you know, what the needs are.
It's largely predicated on mechanical,
Yeah.
life safety system, plumbing, and
Electrical, in other words, the systems for the
Yeah,
building.
well, again, I understand it, and I'm for it, but again, we need to have a plan for the building first. I mean, your mechanicals, your plumbing, or your electrical, all this is predicated on what you're doing inside the building. So until we have a final plan of what we're doing with the building, I think we're putting the cart before the horse here. Do we have a timeline on how long we have to use these funds as far as getting a study done if we were granted these funds?
If we were granted, it generally is a year.
Is within a year. So I'm for getting the funds or whatever, but I think that puts the emphasis on the town and to come up with a plan over the next year to figure out what we're doing in the building. And again, figuring out funding sources to do this with the building. Because again, I know we can use CPC funds, but this building needs a lot of work on the inside, and we have to figure out exactly what we're doing with the building. So before we even get this study done, we have to have a plan of what we're doing in the building. So
Yes.
that's my concern.
Hold on. Councilor Murphy has a comment, then
Yeah, I was just going to comment that there was an amendment made and then a second on the amendment, and then the conversation seems to have trailed off. I don't even know what we're voting on for the amendment anymore, but I think we
that
should get back
passed.
to that. We did vote on that?
Yeah.
I don't remember voting.
Wait, do we not vote on the amendment? Oh, I'm sorry.
We're still
The
in discussion.
amendment
Hey, you're
is,
right. Good question.
was page 151.
Right, I think I
But
Sorry, I thought we
based
didn't
on the
pass it
amendment,
yet.
if she's talking about, you know, the proposed mechanical and electrical assessment would complement the interior's historic assessment. Again, a lot of that's predicated on what we're doing with the interior of this building. You know, what are we doing on the first floor? What are we doing on the second floor? And that could, if we're putting in little mini restaurants or you know, food bars on the first floor, I mean, there could be a wide variety of plans for this building, which is going to affect your plans for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So, again, I think it puts pressure on us to come up with a plan within the next year for this, which again, if we can have that discussion, the biggest issue is the funding of it afterwards. So that's my concern.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, you go first.
I guess we're just going to keep commenting, so I'll comment too as well. But I believe the grant is a matching grant too, so I don't know where the matching money is coming from on the town side. I don't know if that's been discussed.
I think, just to go back to this, just to provide a little bit of context, I agree with what's been said. I think we have to look holistically at this town hall. The reason why we applied for this grant, it is on an annual basis, this grant. And for any opportunity to have additional funding, if the council, this community, and I decide to move forward with the town hall, we want to have those funds available to us. If we're not ready to proceed, we don't accept the grant. We don't move forward with it. So if we are prepared to proceed, you know, that would probably look for an appropriation through the CPC. But once again, I didn't want to be a barrier to this grant being applied for because it's an annual grant. There hasn't been a determination that we're going to fund this stuff. That's where we're at.
You were saying, sorry, just a clarification on that. You were saying that the matching funds would come from CPC on that?
I'm not saying that because we could apply for it. The CPC ultimately has to make that decision. That might be an avenue to fund it. There's a couple of variety of ways to do that, but that probably be one of them that we look to.
But we have submitted an application. It is a matching grant.
Yeah, but we can also say we're not going to utilize that.
If we're not ready.
Yeah.
I would like
Councilor
to,
Lundy.
The Mass Cultural Council also does facilities grants, too. So there's other opportunities to apply. Maybe besides this funding cycle, there are major facilities grants that you can get once you have a plan for it, which we don't have.
Yeah.
yes, I was going to say this is maybe ahead of having a plan, but we wanted to make the deadline and not wait for an entire year. I would point out that the Townhouse Reuse Committee is now defunct. So I would point out that we would need to make a new committee or have the council ask CPC to take on the advancement of this cause.
That's not what CVC does. So, yes, there needs to be somebody who is active on this. I would suggest that perhaps CED committee could do some research and some work to figure out exactly what we want to do. As somebody who has spent a number of years working on that building, I'd be happy. I'm on the CED. I'd be happy to be part of that and try to take up where we had to quit about 3 years ago and talk about it. We've done the exterior, we've done the roof. It's the interior that needs to be taken care of now. And if we have to be thinking about what are we going to want to do with the interior once we restore it. So I think those are things that the Community and Economic Development Committee could talk about, bring back to the council. Of course, the council would be voting on whether or not that was going to happen. But I think the CED could dig kind of into that and bring it back around here and see what we want to do. I do not believe, well, it isn't that I don't believe it, it's that I do believe that the Community Preservation Committee is not going to do that kind of work. They give you funds if you qualify for them. They don't come out and figure out what you're supposed to do with funds. We figure out what we're supposed to do with funds, and they decide whether they're going to give them to us or not. They did this building. They did this building. We had a building committee. I was on that building committee. That's the sort of thing that we're going to need for the townhouse when it's time to do that. And I hesitate to say this because I care very much about that building. I care very much about doing things to save that building, and it's an old building. It's not like the McElwain School was. That was a brick building that could sit for 20 years with nothing happening to it and then end up something that's winning statewide awards all the time for what it became. This building is an old wooden building. It's not like that. But our town is also not in good financial shape. And so trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do it, yes, we can ask the CPC and probably get some funding, but I just think that we need to be a little cautious about making this a big project right now when we have several other things perhaps coming down the line. So,
Councilor Kennedy hasn't spoken yet, so I'm going to give him the
Are
floor.
we still on the amendment?
We are still on the
I'm
amendments.
going to make a motion to call the question on the amendment.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so,
I get clarification on what the amendment is at this point.
yes.
Page
so
151.
Page 151
substituting for page 151.
this one.
of the agenda.
Entire document's being amended.
Yes. Right? That's accurate? The entire document's being amended, Councilor Ellenberg?
Yes.
Mr. President, I do have a question through you to the town manager. I'm just trying to clarify, because there's been a lot of discussion in different aspects of this. Is this like the first step to assessing whether the building is going to be functional, what work we're going to do may need in the future, or does this actually pay for work is this going to start the process for doing work in the building? Because it says assess the interior renovations. Is that just taking a look at the building, having everything reviewed?
It's a resolution, it's not an
No,
order.
It's a resolution that doesn't, I mean, this other amendment is different from what was proposed initially. I can't speak to what the amended resolution is. It's not going to look at the overall building or anything like that. We've already applied for an assessment. It's called a system replacement grant, specifically for electrical, plumbing, life safety systems. That's it. That's all we've applied for. That's all the funds that could be utilized, if we even utilize the grant. Just didn't want to have that as a barrier because it's an annual grant process. If there was a determination that we were going to put some time and effort and money into this. But I agree with Councilor Hunt that I think where we are financially, I don't know if we're going to be in that position to do that. So, you know, I think I've been very clear. I think this resolution is moot. We've applied for this grant.
There you go.
That's where we're at.
Additional information, I did a little research on this too, and I was told that the CPC has voted for an interior assessment, and the town is in the process of issuing an RFP. I don't know if that's correct. Through you to the town manager?
This, they have issued, we're looking at the procurement of that.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question? So how much is the grant for, and how are we going to match that?
The grant, I think it was between $10,000 and $15,000. It depends on what the amount is given by the MCC. And we'll have to make a determination. Maybe that's through the CPC, maybe it's another funding source. I doubt it's another funding source, but it might be the CPC. But I can't say it is, because you have to apply, and the CPC will make a determination if they want to fund that. So I'm not going to say the CPC will fund it.
So it might come out of our budget?
I will tell you that I will not be submitting an order to take, and I've said this very clearly to Council Ellenberg, I would not submit an order to take this from any other source of funding.
Thank you.
We're not in the position to do that.
And I have no problem with that, because obviously our budget is the priority, but time is a wasting, and we don't want the building to rot. So CPC is an alternative.
So that being said, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Okay, do we have a second?
What happened with the amendment? Did we vote?
We voted on
I
that.
thought I thought we were
We
just
just
voting
did
to
a-
move.
He moved the question.
Oh,
To move the question, not on the amendments.
right.
Oh, so we do have to approve the amendment still? Yeah. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so let's vote to approve the,
So it's a resolution.
No, he moved the
No, I
question.
moved the
He voted-
question. We
he
did
called
vote on
the
the-
question,
we did
then
vote on
you-
the,
I
yeah,
called the
okay.
question.
So we're voting on it as,
Voting on the resolution.
Right, you voted the amendment after
after he moved the
Counselor
question.
Kennedy
All right,
called
that's
the
what I thought.
question. Yeah.
Okay.
So now
Yeah.
we're just voting on the resolution.
Yeah, so Councilor Ellenberg made a motion to approve the resolution, and we're waiting to see if we have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? For me personally, in the absence of a clear long-term plan, I am only going to vote no because of that reason. I also don't personally agree with a cultural center there. I think we need to do more investigation, but that's just my personal opinion. So I am very, very happy of the work that you did, and I think that we should pursue all grants, but just speaking for me personally, that's just how I feel. But I'm glad that we applied, but what we do here carries no weight as to what happens next. We've applied, and we'll cross that bridge if we get there, if we do get the money, and we'll see. But I think in the meantime, we should continue to do the work as to what should be the overall plan moving forward, and then we should figure out what to do if we do get that grant. So anything else before you vote?
Yeah, I'll add, I agree with you. I don't necessarily agree with locking in what we're going to do with it at this current moment. I know it's a resolution, but I disagree with like the sentiment of that. I'd like there to be larger discussion as to how the facility will be used. We all either discuss that or that gets brought forward towards us. And I would like to see just more of a plan. I appreciate the grant's been applied for. But yes, we also have funding issues, so that's kind of where I am on it.
The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any way to amend anything to send it to CED for study so we could look into it further and not have the work of the reuse committee go to
waste?
the wastebasket?
Again, it's just a resolution.
It's just a resolution. It's not going to have any weight.
Right, it's just sentiments of the
The
council.
CED, if you all want to explore something like this, I would recommend putting on as part of a discussion item.
Right.
And you don't need legislation to do that.
Okay.
I would just agree with the comments that you did make. Some of the parts of this I do like, some of it I do not like. I do think that, again, a lot of things need to be put in place. I like the fact that the grant's been applied for, so if we do get those grant monies, we can use those appropriately. Again, the resolution is, again, just a resolution, but some of the language I'm not in support of, especially toward the tail end, so I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this resolution, but I
Okay.
recommend a roll call
That's
vote
before
on
you
it.
vote.
I like Mrs. Hunt's idea, doing a committee. She knows well about this, and your department, the CDC, handling it and bring it forth. And I want to thank Council Ellenberg. There's a lot of work in there, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, can we do a roll call vote on this, please?
Of course, since I can't talk. Mr. Lindy,
Yes.
Ms. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
No.
Dr. Perry,
No.
Mr. Loretti,
No.
Ms. McGrath,
No.
Ms. Ellenberg,
Yes.
and Mr. Kennedy.
No.
3, 2, 5. Motion failed.
Motion fails. All right, thank you. So now let's go all the way back to item E, appointments. We will not be doing the District 1 appointment. We do have a Board of Health appointment. Mr. Kevin Bloomquist, do I have a motion for approval for Mr.
So moved.
Bloomquist for the Board
Second.
of Health? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on his appointment?
I saw his background, especially in Title V, and that's part of what Board of Health gets involved in, so I'll be in support of his appointment.
Same. Anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we'll go down to item G. Hopefully everybody's following along.
Over the map.
We have license transactions, petition P 2026-017, change of manager of an alcohol establishment, Bridgewater Citizens Club for 60 Hale Street. I'll ask our town manager for a little background info on this one.
In the board's packet, there's the, is this a, hold on, G, yes, change of manager request. They've submitted all the relevant documents. There's no concerns on the town end of things. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Do I have a motion for approval, second for discussion?
So move.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are now on to presentations.
Did you fall asleep?
Let's do it, like I know what I'm doing.
Was 8:22?
Wait a minute, don't go away.
It's working.
Whenever I use technology.
Yes.
I don't like the microphone.
Stay behind the podium there, sir.
I don't like this.
I think he's right.
Whenever I teach, and I use PowerPoint, my biggest fear is walking in and it not working, and have somebody come up and still can't fix it. Thank you.
We did it, Ray.
Shoot from the hip.
Since you have a long meeting, we'll keep this presentation an hour 15 minutes, so you won't be too long. All right, I'm going to go quickly. I have a bunch of slides. I'm going to go very quickly because I think the main presenter should be our new tree warden, Brian McMahon. Just quickly on, damn thing, on the our report. The tree committee members, same people we've had before, except we now have an arborist, Steve Dempsey, and of course we have Brian McMahon as the tree warden. This was the mission that was set up by previous town manager for the tree committee. It's in the town code, plus other charts of what we have to do. I'm going to just quickly.
Ray, just a sec. Can you just grab the microphone and hold it to you? I think it's not anchored down by anything. Yep. So at least talk to it that way. There you go.
Thank you.
Like Bob Barker.
Good idea. Can I leave? Okay, we've had trees before, a lot of trees. I mean, this is about circa 1900. Beautiful trees today. You've all seen them in the fall. I showed these before very quickly. I want you to understand that trees are important. Climate, clean air, water, soil erosion, cool the air, benefits wildlife, increases property values anywhere from 5 to 20%. That's not Bridgewater. You don't want to live in a place like that. That's Colorado. But trees are important, and we have a law that requires trees go into subdivisions. This one does not. It's Bridgewater. It's probably a 40B. I'm not sure what happened here. Trees going into a subdivision. Forest Street. Buffer noise. Probably haven't noticed this. This is the planted tree buffer on Plain Street from the Stone Meadow development. This was put up with a berm and trees on top of it to separate the street from the development. Community ties. Whether you realize it or not, we have a bunch of places really great places to hike and just walk in this town. Stanley Ironworks Park, Carver Pond, where the college put it together, Stiles and Hart, which is still being in the process of being finished. Wyman Farms, great place. I love this place. Great River Preserve. Wirelands Trust takes care of the last two. The town works with them on it. The, Great Hill Estate at the college. Old State Farm Trail, I think it's on your agenda. Kitty Doherty has done tremendous work behind the scenes for years, and this trail will probably be finished this year. Achievements, quickly, we've done an Arbor Day every year since the tree committee's been formed. Nicole Holmes, standing there, has been the one person behind it. She's done all the work in conjunction with the superintendent of roads, Paul Costa. We're a tree city. Plantings, Main Street, Broad Street. We gave $6,000 to the senior center in 2024 for tree planting there. We've had forums trying to help the public understand not only how to plant trees, how to take care of trees, but also just the laws regarding trees in this town. For instance, the main thing is the fact that we have street trees, and street trees are town trees. They are not private trees, and people cannot cut street trees, which they have, and that's part of the problem of enforcement. We've also voted to plant a tree on the common and a plaque for Bill Malpe, who was the unpaid tree warden for years. He was on the tree committee. He's done great work. He is no longer on the tree committee anymore, so we want to honor him. We proposed updates to the shade tree ordinance, and we proposed a new schedule for mitigation, which I think is going to move forward now. Just quickly, the town has a number of ordinances regarding trees. The zoning ordinance, which I just want to mention to you. The line here, this was when the zoning was redone 3 years ago. We inserted for a mitigation proposal. In other words, the point is, the money that the tree committee has right now is coming from mitigation. We do not have a budget. The mitigation mainly from the warehouse on Bedford Street, which you've all seen, the large warehouse. That's where the money is coming from, what we're spending. It was recommended that we not simply ask for money, that we have a bylaw that says we can ask for money, and it's in there now, and hopefully it will be approved shortly, so that the planning board can actually ask for money. Concerns going forward, this is what I had last time. We have a tree warden now. We have an arborist on the committee. There are other issues that we would like to move forward with, possibly a tree survey. Public education is important. The forums are nice, but they're not enough. We'd like to be able to do some sort of mailing to people to help them understand the laws regarding trees. A lot of issues, dead trees, diseases, National Grid does what it has to do, and they just go down the street and they cut all the limbs down because of the wires, of course. Development can be an issue. You want development, but when somebody comes in and wants to clear cut, what do you do? So that is an issue that we should be able to deal with. Public awareness, I already mentioned, and we need a budget. Money, grants are drying up. There's possibly one grant we're going to apply for this year. Mitigation is important. We need the mitigation ordinance in a budget, of course. We need to work with other committees, in particular Bridgewater Improvement Association, which we unfortunately have not done, and I'll take the blame for that. We should be doing more. Councilor McGrath is working with getting committees together in this town and working. I think that's important, not only for the tree committee, but for all committees. Okay. I want to introduce Mr. McMahon. He is our tree warden, official tree warden, and he's been tremendous for us. Let him talk to you about the importance of trees and what we have to do in this town. Brian, come on.
Great, thank you, Ray. So, my name is Brian McMahon. I'm the new town tree warden, and I just wanted to talk about the tree warden ordinance. It's a tree protection ordinance, and my qualifications for it, because there are specific requirements, and then some of the issues that I've observed recently in the town that I think you should be aware of. So the tree warden ordinance was established in 1899, and to my understanding, any tree along within 20 feet of a town road is protected by it. You cannot prune, remove, or plant a tree within 20 feet of a town road without permission of the town arborist. If you want to remove a tree within 20 feet of the town road, you have to have a public hearing. And if there's an objection at the public hearing, you guys are the final voice on that. So it can be rather involved. Specifically, I'm a qualified tree warden. I'm a board-certified master arborist. I have a track qualifications, which means I'm qualified to determine whether a tree is a hazard or not. I have 2 pesticide supervisory licenses, which is required by the license, by the ordinance. I have one in rights-of-way and in shade trees and ornamentals. In addition, I'm a graduate of Norfolk County Agricultural School. They have a post-high school forestry program. I have a BS in biology from the University of Massachusetts. I have an MBA from Babson College, and I have a master's degree from the University of Nebraska in entomology. In my regular job, I work for one of the oldest tree companies in New England. Specifically, I'm part of a team that manages rights-of-way vegetation control for the MBTA. And that's usually evenings, and it's somewhat seasonal. It allows me to do this job. My role here is about 4 hours a week, so it's not that significant. But some of the issues that have come up immediately is emerald ash borer. I don't know if you're aware of it. It's a beetle that was introduced from Asia. Yeah, first was observed around Detroit in 2009. It's killing all the ash trees. Unfortunately, that's a lowland tree. We have quite a number of the white ash in the town. They get to be quite large. It's been in here about 5 or 6 years. They're all just about dead. Once they die, they fall apart really quickly. About 3 years, they start shedding limbs. They become a big hazard. We've got, it's killed, for instance, all the green ash trees that were planted along Broad Street as you come out of the square, and then lots of large trees all around the town. And then secondly, there's beech leaf disease. It was discovered in Ohio in 2012. It defoliates beech trees, kills them in about 6 or 8 years. And unfortunately, the large copper beech beside the library is infested. It's dying. There are 8 beech trees on the town common. They're all infested. They're all going to go. We're going to lose them. We need to think about replacing them. And then finally, how am I spending my time? Right now, besides attending meetings, I'm surveying the town. I'm driving around looking for trees that are hazards, trying to identify the trees that are and cataloging them so we can start to develop a program. Because, you know, my role is public safety, not only protecting the trees, but protecting the people from the trees. Public safety and liability for the town by having a process of removing trees that might be a hazard. And I've got a fair number of trees that I'm already concerned about. I'm cataloging them right now. As I go along, I'm going to confer with the Department of Public Works and the town manager about how we might get together and get those done. But we're going to need some money to do that, and we're also going to need some money to start replacing these trees. Specifically, I'd like to see those beech trees that we're going to lose on the town common replaced with other trees, get them in there now so that when those trees die out and we have to remove them, we have something already in place. So that's kind of my role. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Brian?
Oh, yes. No questions. You're all tired. Want to go home?
No questions, but just to comment that I see the work that you're doing in the Downtown Revitalization Committee with Councilor McGrath, and I know that you've addressed the tree issues that we are experiencing there, and it seems that you are all working towards a plan. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention that wasn't aware of that, and thank you for your work. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ray.
Could I ask one question really
Sure.
quickly? When you're removing trees on the common, some of them are there, they've been planted and named for people who donated them. Are you keeping the signs and are you replacing those, or what From the BIA perspective, I'm asking this.
At this point, I'm just identifying trees that I expect to need to be replaced. We haven't gotten as far as getting a process for actually removing them, but I would imagine that any trees that have a name associated with them, we'd keep that in place, and we plan on replacing them with other trees that hopefully are better choices and aren't going to have these problems, which is another part of my job,
Right.
making better choices on street trees as we replace them.
That's wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a
Sure.
question? What trees do you plan to replace? What trees do you plan to use as the new trees on the common?
We haven't determined that yet. We've spoken to a landscape architect. One of the issues is I don't want to impose my personal choices on what trees should be there. I think we need, other opinions, so that we have a landscape architect we're consulting with. My own personal opinion, however, would be it's dominated by linden trees, and I would just replace the beech trees with other linden trees, a slightly different species that you guys wouldn't be able to tell one from the other, but in case we had a problem, it might have some resistance. But I think consistently, my first exposure to the town of Bridgewater was driving into the town with my wife. We were antiquing, and that town square was just so lovely with the trees and everything. I'm very interested in preserving that character of the square. But again, it is not an emergency, but it's going to change quite dramatically. And, we're going to lose a significant number of those trees.
Thank you. We'll now move into town manager report. So I'll ask our town manager to, we've got grant opportunities kicking things off here.
Yes. Good evening. So I put this on the agenda in large part, our last council meeting, for example, there was a resident who had made mention of a variety of grant opportunities available to the town. And, I think there's been a discussion about, whether the town needs a grant committee and so forth. Just wanted to provide context on what the town does and what the town has received over some time. On the list that we received, and I don't think everyone knows, is the list that we received, I'm not including schools because we don't apply for schools grants. The town has either applied or received funds for over 2/3 of the grants that were on this list. And I just don't think people are aware of that. One of the things that I've done since I've gotten here is, one, we incorporating the operational updates, grants that our office directly works on to keep the council apprised of those grants. I'm working with Ms. Guarini in the finance department. I think we'll publicize some of the grants that we've received and put them on the website so people can understand the work that we do. This is a process where literally almost every single department is hands-on in applying for grants. Since fiscal year 21, and I just did a quick review of this, and this, I do want to thank Ms. Guarini for this work. Since fiscal year 21, the town has received over $48 million in grants and low-interest loan programs. I will put the caveat, some amount of that was received ARPA and CARES, but we are very aggressive in going after grants. And actually this evening, a gentleman mentioned one bit of good news that I wasn't anticipating this when I did put this on the agenda, but the town just received $500,000, about $500,000 for pedestrian improvements at the Plymouth Street site over there. I would just amend that. It wasn't Rep. Gallagher who got those funds. The town had to apply for those funds. And that was part of our priority, Complete Streets Priority Plan that we developed in conjunction, but our CD department applied for those grants along with the DPW and with the town manager's office. We obviously let our partners at the state know when we're applying for these grants to help us advocate, but that's the work that staff does. Obviously, we've talked about staffing and bandwidth. We take an all-hands-on-deck approach. We're very proactive about going after grants. So, I thought it was important to highlight that because I don't think people are aware of the work that goes into into what we do and what we've actually received over this amount of time.
Thank you for that. Any questions on grants?
Would it be possible to provide a list to the public of the grants that we received and the amounts that we did in each year, just so that the public can see?
Yes, and that's what I mentioned with Ms. Guarini. She's doing that work in the finance department. I think that's something that's prudent to move forward, moving forward, because I think just people are not aware about the work that we do in getting these grants. So yes.
Great.
Okay. The next item is just a real brief water update. I don't have anything too significant in regards to the water situation. We continue to receive water from Middleborough. My plan is in March that we will have Apex, who's our engineering firm who helps assist, who helped do the water master plan, who's working with the trailers and doing a lot of the engineering work, is in March we have a more in-depth, robust presentation about where we're at, includes the treatment trailers, any alternative water sources that we're looking at. So in March we'll give that update. So just real briefly, one little caveat, one little bit of information in terms of water is during this period that we've received water from Middleborough, the water department has taken the initiative to do well redevelopment on well number 3. That well was offline for about 10 days, so we could redevelop that well and increase the capacity that we're able to do from that well. So that's in conjunction of receiving that water from Middleborough. So our water department, we're all being proactive about this, and I believe in March we'll have a more robust water update for you all.
Great. Any questions on that? With that update, we'll have some timelines as well attached to that, I imagine, in that presentation.
My hope is that, yeah, we'll have a more robust presentation. We can outline a variety of opportunities and have some general timelines available.
Great, thank you.
I just wanted to follow up from the last meeting. We did speak about it, about High Street's capacity levels. If that information could just get sent over to me at some point, just want to mention it while we're on water.
I think that question has been asked a couple of times, whether High Street has the capability to take on the capacity of water from 10A, 10B. It's in the water master plan. It does have that capacity to do it. I think one component that we have to take a look at, and this is part of what the overall presentation would be, is, we have to consider the PFAS levels and different things like that. And what the initial plan was to do PFAS remediation, I think in 2030. Do we look to do that more sooner, et cetera? So I think that's part of the holistic discussion. But in terms of the question, was it built to take that capacity from 10A, 10B? Yes, it was.
Could you just direct me at some point to that information? If it's on the town website, that's fine. I just had residents ask specifically for that particular set of information, so that's why I'm following up on it.
Yep.
But thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have something, Paul?
Yeah, I just had a question around the blue drop system. I feel like I get asked on a daily basis if it's working on any particular day, and I've seen some of the Facebook posts. Is there any way we can have maybe a consistent spot or somewhere where I can direct folks to go when there are issues or outages, or are we posting on Facebook? What do you suggest we communicate to folks?
Yeah, that's a great question. The DPW department has a Facebook page where they do make those posts, and we also post it on our website. So I think if people are interested in that, I would say subscribe, follow the DPW page in particular. They make sure to update there, but also our website. We do post if there's issues there.
And has the machine been having an unusual amount of issues? I mean, is that why I'm getting these requests?
I wouldn't say unusual. I think these machines, weather has plays a part in it. Also, the usage, it is very well used. One of the things that we're looking at exploring, I have to give credit to a council and speaking with a variety of you all, we're looking at other system outside of Blue Drop that may be more weather appropriate. I've mentioned this a couple of times, we're looking at other sites to add another Blue Drop or this other potential water service. So that's something that we're looking at, and we probably I would say, tip my hat, part of the budget process. That will be something that we'll probably budget for and plan for moving forward. But we're exploring that.
Yeah, okay, just as a follow-up, can we get the statistics on usage? Is that something you could share with the council? Just curious how many you're using. And then you just commented on the budget, so I just ask, will this be included in the water presentation in March around Blue Drop and what the plan is going forward with that? Is that?
I won't say that in particular. I don't know if we'll be prepared for that. I know we've been looking at some sites. I've mentioned this in a couple of updates. Initially, we looked at the senior center. We thought it would be the best site. We know a lot of seniors utilize it. It doesn't work there. So we've narrowed down to some potential sites. But I also think that we have a little bit more information about another system that might work for us. So our water department is looking at that. I spoke with Mr. Young about that. And, when we're prepared to move forward with that, we'll have a presentation on that.
But there is no end date on it as of now. It's indefinitely, we'll be offering that service to folks.
What was your question? For indefinitely offering the service that we have now?
Yeah,
Yes, it's part of our budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
But that's one system, so we're looking for potentially one additional one. Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question. Are you done with your report, Mr. Kausner?
He has,
For the water update, yes.
He's
Okay.
got budget and then streetlights.
Good with water? Yeah, okay. Now, very briefly, fiscal year 27 in the community budget sessions, I just want to, I know I've talked with all the counselors, but I think it's important to set the framework for fiscal year 27. Obviously, submitted a preliminary budget forecast. One thing that I've talked with our finance director about, and is really important to us, is to really get out and inform the community about our budget situation. So I will be hosting several budget community, we're going to call them community budget sessions. The first one will be March 4th at 10:30 at the Senior Center, but it's an opportunity to inform the public about the preliminary budget, how we develop the budget, so the challenges we have, but also solicit feedback. And I will obviously acknowledge that, you know, everyone's aware of our revenue situation, but I really look at this priority-based budgeting. What are the priorities? And I think it's important to hear from the community. So I'm really encouraging our community to come meet Lori and I. We could talk about the budget, talk about challenges that we have, what we're doing. So there will be one in the Senior Center. We'll have one in the evening. But also, I'm going to individually meet with all the counselors as well as part of this budget process before I submit a budget. Get your feedback, give those opportunities to talk about the budget as well. I've already gone to the Bridgewater Raynham School Budget Subcommittee to present that information. So we're going to be very proactive in this budget season, talking about the challenges we have, talking about opportunities, and I'm looking forward to that work. We've already started our budget process, fiscal year 27, started reviewing with our departments.
Okay, great.
Okay. And then the last item, I will say, Mr. DeCosta, our highway superintendent, he says the lights that drove him crazy, the town center lights. I know last week the town center lights were out a couple of times, and I think over the course of a couple of weeks they've been in and out. Just to provide a quick update, that the apparatus and the infrastructure there is from the 80s. There's a lot of corroded wiring, rodent damage, water damage. It's going to require pretty significant repairs. We believe, and knock on wood here, that the latest repair that we did last week is a suitable repair to maintain the system as it is, but it's going to require significant investigation on getting quotes on overhauling the whole intersection, and so that's work that Mr. DeCosta is doing and that we're looking at doing. That's the only way we're going to be able to fix it moving forward, but we believe this latest repair will resolve that issue moving forward.
Okay, any?
I was just going to ask maybe a suggestion, because I drove through there a few times. Would it be possible to get a police detail, especially during high traffic times? I realize it's a cost of time and money with that, but at least for the high traffic times, it seemed like it was extremely dangerous. And if it saves 1 or 2 accidents, I think it's worth it.
Absolutely, and actually, when we're doing work there, generally, for the most part, we do have a police detail. And in particular, I think it was the Friday, the last time that the lights were out, we did have a police detail, but they were in the cabinet area. Typically, I've spoken with Chief Del Monte, and my approach to this, we want those officers, we have a detail, we want them in our road. That's a high-traffic intersection, it's a dangerous intersection. I think we're all on the same page moving forward with that. In fact, Chief, after I spoke with Chief Del Monte, he personally was going to go out there and make sure they were in the traffic, but we resolved it. Of course, when he gets there, the lights were fixed, but we will have that addressed moving forward if that occurs again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as you, through you to the town manager, as you know, I also brought that to your attention that day. It was a very dangerous situation. I mean, there may be some people that like it, but it was hazardous to myself personally. It was just really, really bad. And I don't even know if one police detail is actually enough for the 4 intersections. I don't want to spend town money foolishly, but like Councilor Murphy just said, if we can save one life. I happen to occasionally go to the barber, Yankee Clipper, and his mother was killed in one of the crosswalks downtown, and he asked me if I can do anything to help. He would like to see us resolve crosswalks and traffic lights. So, just saying.
Thank you.
Through you to the town manager. So with the lights being, Route 1828, is this completely on us cost-wise to repair and replace, or is there any state reimbursement or funding that can help?
So there's grant opportunities, and we'll be exploring grant opportunities. That's one of the things that we're actually doing for Summer Street and Plymouth Street. There's grant opportunities for it. However, if we need to fix them like we had to these past weeks, it's on us.
Okay.
So we are going to, I spoke with Superintendent DaCosta, and we're looking at any grant opportunities, but I do think it's going to be on us to move forward with it. It's a major intersection.
Sure.
We want to fix it, but we will look for any opportunities to mitigate the costs on the town.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Mr. Casanova, I know you've been really busy, and I don't know if you had read the 104 Corridor study.
I have not read it directly. I'm aware of it, and I know I have an update from our CED department regarding it.
Okay, there's a lot of questions, but the one that it's about the water, and since you're applying for grants, maybe you can solve that one. Because on page 27, it says Lake Nip is providing potable water to the surrounding communities. And the lake is located within 50 feet of the roadway, and giving the closeness of the drinking water source to the transportation 104, and it's important to evaluate potential risks related to roadway runoffs, hazardous material spills, storm water, pollutants, and salt. And they also said on page 28, the certified vernal ponds are about 100 feet north on the North Road, about 100 feet north on Route 104 across from Tabway Lane, demands careful stormwater management. So I figured since you were getting grants for water and different things, that maybe we could look at that, because that seems important. Thank you.
Just a further request that may take some time and effort to think about, but I was wondering if, similar vein to the traffic lights downtown, I feel like the MBTA signals have also had their fair share of issues over at least the past few years. Curious to know if there's somebody from the MBTA that could come and speak on maybe maintenance and upkeep of those and what that looks like in terms of safety and how often they're serviced. I just think that would be really helpful for folks, and something that I get asked about often too.
Any other questions or requests of councilors of our town manager for a future town council meeting? Nope. You already mentioned the presentation. That was going to be my request, but it sounds like we're on it. Looking forward to timelines, costs, and then obviously next steps after this. So that would be it for me, but we're already addressing that. So now we'll move on to, we do not have any discussion items. We do have at least one committee report. Councilor McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Downtown Revitalization Committee met on February 5th. We had a landscape architect at our meeting to help with the design on the common. She's working with the tree warden, as he had said, to put in new trees. And the war monument will be turned around, as Ms. Hunt suggested, so residents can actually read it. Our committee has an order on tonight's agenda, and I'll speak about that when we get to it. And the committee has spoke about utilizing CPC funds to restore the facade of the buildings. And with chairs of committees and town staff attending our committee, we are making progress in the downtown, so I thank them for all attending.
Thank you. Do you have any other committee reports? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have already done legislation for action. We do not have any old business. We will now move into new business, beginning with Order FY 26-050, acceptance of grant, Old State Farm Trail Phase 4 readiness. I'll ask our town manager for any details on this one.
Speaking of those grants, this is a grant that our office, and I want to give a special shout out to my executive assistant, Cajun Beardsley, who worked with Kitty Doherty, who was mentioned a little bit earlier, for this grant to help us move forward with Phase 4 of the Old State Farm Trail. So we did receive this grant, $10,000, and it's doing a lot of the work that's required to submit an overall Mass Trails grant that's a lot more significant to do that work. So we're happy about receiving that grant.
Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to refer to Budget and Finance Committee.
So
Second motion and a second. Great. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, Order FY 26-051, declaring the downtown corridor of Bridgewater a blighted area. I will ask Councilor McGrath to introduce this. I know she's been doing a lot of work in the Downtown Revitalization Committee. We were discussing this, and she allowed me to co-sponsor this with her, so thank you for that. And I'll ask her to introduce this to us.
Thank you, Mr. President. We declared 2 areas as blight, not the whole town, so we can get community development block grants. I purposely wrote this order using the state of Massachusetts words, so it would be very clear of why we're defined, how it's defined, the downtown Blythe, and what we'll be using the grants for. So the only thing I will have to amend is putting under therefore Exhibit A and B, because at the time that I wrote it, I didn't have the maps, and Mr. Rulli graciously put the maps out forward for it.
Where do you want to add that amendment? At the end there, the corridor,
Yeah,
the town
therefore,
bridge?
by definition, Massachusetts general law, that the corridor, town of Bridgewater is declared a blight area as shown on exhibit maps A and B, or just exhibit A.
Okay, so motion, do we have a second on the amendment?
So moved.
And a second, any discussion on just simply adding the visuals that are attached to our packet?
Could you give me the page number on that?
156.
158.9.
Yeah, the maps are on 158 and then 159. These are the areas that we're going to be exploring, and then in the subcommittee work, we're going to be identifying certain parcels that have to be 25% of that area in order to qualify.
That's exactly what I was going to say, but
Any further questions, Councilor Hunt?
It just looks to me like this is an incredible amount of time, space.
Yes, so
It's not just downtown.
Yeah, so in the subcommittee work, they're going to identify, 25% of those parcels that may be eligible to be designated as blighted, and I don't know if I'm missing anything there.
no, I would say that, this, and obviously speaking with our town attorney and our staff, there is some work that needs to go into this order, and we expect that it's going to be sent to a committee of some sort, and that work needs to be done as part of moving this order forward.
I'd like to recommend that it go to the CED committee before we get too involved in it. And
I kind of would like it to come back to our committee because we have all the chairs working with us, with the historical and Mr. Rulli. And the other area that is blighted, it's because it's low income, and it's more down Plymouth Street near the college.
Yeah,
So
you
we-
need to include that area, right?
Yeah, so since we've been really working on it, I'd like to work on it and then forward it to you guys, but let us fix it up because we know what needs to be done, and we've done so much work on it already.
Couple of
Let's,
comments.
I've got a few hands. Councilor Indian and Councilor Elmer.
I think a lot of work has gone into it, but I'd like to see 2 committees work on it together. One's a permanent standing committee, which is CED, and the other is an ad hoc committee. I also would like to ask the town manager, through you to the town manager, what is the, I guess I'm going to say public relations issue, and I'll put it as issue in quotes, with declaring a blighted area, because we have one side of the common, to me, that looks like it's in pretty good shape, and we have another side of the common that looks like it's in pretty bad shape, and then on Broad Street, prior to the Friendlies project, I've talked to you about this, the blighted building that's sitting there with boarded up windows, that apparently we have no way to enforce anything to get them to fix it. So is there, I don't want Bridgewater to be in the headlines ultimately for blight, although it's blight on one side. So just, I don't know if you care to.
No. I don't want to make it seem like I'm passing the buck on this, but that is actually what you guys will consider and whether you want to do it. I know one of the reasons why we've discussed this is for us to have the capacity to apply for CDBG grants in particular. Right. And there needs to be certain designations and there's certain requirements to be eligible to apply for those funds. And they could be significant. But I would also say this too. They're a grant, not guaranteed to get them either. So that is a determination this council wants to do. And I think that's something that councils have grappled with in the past, whether they want to go that route or not. But I do believe you guys have put several different ordinances about the downtown area, maintenance standards and different things like that. So at this point, as you're having this discussion, I think it's worthwhile to explore it. And then ultimately, you guys make the decision if you think it's worth those grants possibility, whether you want to proceed with something like that.
One more follow-up question. Is it significant grant money available?
I consider it significant. I mean, every dollar available to mitigate things,
okay.
but we've seen grant awards, and I've worked in communities that have had CDBG funds. They're federal funds. I mean, you could have upwards of $500,000.
Do they exist anymore?
Yes, they have funded CDBG program. It's not a guarantee, though. It is not a guarantee.
Nothing's a guarantee for a grant.
I would just say CDBG grants. I was participating in one that we received several years ago. It took us maybe 3 years to get that grant. We had to be in tune with another town to get it. There are certain people who are the writers of CDBG grants in Massachusetts. There's like 3 areas, and you have to know what you're doing to get a CDBG grant, and it's difficult.
Could I respond to this?
We have, okay.
Because Mr. Rulli was there, and he said we didn't have to go with a town, and...
Mr. Rulli doesn't know about that grant for
No, I'm
Massachusetts.
talking about the grant that we're going to be applying for, the Community Development Block Grant, so...
CDBG grant,
Right,
yes.
so Mr. Rulli has been working with that.
That's what I'm talking about.
And some of the funds will be going for the face of the buildings, the preservation of historical sites, infrastructure. We'll get a code enforcement. We can hire code enforcement with the thing. And also, I believe it was the chair of the historical committee told us a lot of the buildings had lead. So on this grant, we can get lead-based paint hazard evaluation to take it off. So it does have an awful lot that we can use it for the town. And it doesn't, I raised the question, does this give our town a bad name? I also asked the town manager, would it give him a bad name if we had an area that was considered blight? And the answer was no. And if you look at the Massachusetts, a lot of towns have it. I didn't write them all down because there was a list. And so it doesn't affect the whole town. It doesn't bring down the valuation of anyone's homes. The blighted area brings down the valuation of homes. So if we fix it up, the value of those buildings will come up, and then the owners will be able to raise their rent, and maybe we can have, something different. So it's just a start. It's just an, order for us to look at it.
There's a lot of questions on the floor, so I want to recognize Councilor Ellenberg, and Dr. Perry also had his hand up, and then
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
There is legal implications to the term blight. And I have used it myself kind of loosely, but the term blight, when I was researching it, it came out that typically that will be handled by a town doing eminent domain. Okay, and then we have demolition, and then we have MBTA building in those places. So I think this is walking down the primrose path to having our town turned into a metropolis right on the center of town. And I think it would be very unwise of us to be labeling our town a blight. I believe it would bring down the value of real estate in the town as a whole. I don't think real estate agents would be happy with the town being declared a blight. And we really don't want to go down that road. It's a bad name for the town. It's potentially very divisive if we do the route of eminent domain, which, by the way, is government seizing private property, land. Okay? And so a blight situation opens us up to that situation. So I think it's unwise.
Do we have a clarification from our town manager?
I just want to be very clear because, obviously, this will engender some conversation. I do think it's a conversation for the council. It's going to get referred to some committee, I'm assuming, this evening, and that's a determination that you all make. I want to be very clear and be very deliberate about town staff position on this. If this is an opportunity to explore additional funding, we're not advocating for it. It's something for you all to consider. And this is part of the overall discussion about the downtown revitalization efforts. So it's ultimately a decision for the council and in your collaboration with the community, whether you want to move forward or not. But there has been no discussion with us about eminent domain or anything regarding that. It's about a designation that this downtown revitalization committee was particularly interested in applying for CDBG grant funding. That'll ultimately be a decision for the council. It will not be town staff, so I want to be very clear about that.
And Dr. Perry has been waiting to make a comment.
Sure. So just a couple of things. Number one, as far as referring it to a subcommittee, again, the Downtown Revitalization Subcommittee, has been getting the legwork on it, and it was brought up at our last meeting, so this is what this order is all about. We do have a member of CED on that same committee as well, and I know you guys are down a member. But my plan or my intention would be, once the legwork has been done by this committee, for it to still go to CED for discussion and review before it probably comes back to the council, because both subcommittees should look at it. But in regards to the comments on the blighted situation of the town, again, it's a designation on paper. There's no intent for the town to do any type of eminent domain. It's basically just in order to get us qualifications in place for that BG, excuse me, I can't say the letters, the block grant there that we could apply to as a town. So again, we're still doing the legwork. We've been getting, different members of the community, the historic representative of the Historic Commission. We've had Mr. Rulli in on the meeting. So we're getting a lot of heads together to kind of talk this out and work this on out. So I just feel that as a subcommittee, the first subcommittee that it should be referred to would be downtown to work the order to get the details in place for it, and then once it's ready from our subcommittee, then it can go to CED and then back to the council for a final review.
Got it. Thank you. Councilor Kennedy's been waiting.
I would agree with Councilor Perry that it should probably be discussed by both committees once the legwork has been done. I also had similar questions and concerns. PR is one, legal ramifications is the other. So if there's any working documents on any legal ramifications, fallout, whatever that kind of opens up the ability for the town to do with that, I would just like to know for information purposes, not that there's any intent involved in it, just what doors it opens up. Is just something I think that we should be able to be aware of. So at some point in the committees, or if that information is available, I'll look into this myself, but if there's working documents that you have for it, it would be good to just review to know what doors we are opening up. Grants and everything sound great, and I support that, and I don't necessarily, I'm not against this. This sounds good. I just would to know all that information as well, so I can make an educated decision on it.
Great.
My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, the downtown area, I don't know about the map area, but the downtown area, an MBTA Communities Act development can't be built on Central Square. There isn't a footprint for that anyplace. So I want to make sure we stay within the boundaries of, I don't even know if we have a designation is what the downtown is. I came from another community, and that was always a debate, and it was never clarified. And we definitely had blight for sure for years. A lot of it had to do with traffic patterns. We're working on a plan to figure out what to do with the traffic patterns downtown. The first thing we want to see is facade improvement. Okay, we tried that in the other community, didn't quite work. Sign ordinances, so signs had to be, you go to different parts of the state in downtowns and you see uniform signs. You don't see what we see here. And I think a lot of work has to be done. I like to see committees work together. We also have a planning board here in town where CED and planning meet together. I'd like to get their input too, because they have some expertise that I don't think any of us have necessarily. So I think there's a lot of work that has to be done. I love our common, but we could have a much nicer looking common. And hearing about the trees we just heard, those folks came to the committee and talked to each one of us, and I'd like to explore more.
Great. So it sounds like there's desire to refer to one or two committees, so why don't we take one motion at a time? Does anybody have a motion?
I would just, one motion, send it to downtown revitalization to be worked through, and then once it comes back from that committee, then probably vote to send it to a second committee. Because usually we send it to one committee at a time as a council.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on sending over to downtown revitalization? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Are we okay with just sending downtown revitalization and maybe sending back, or did you guys want to make a motion? Sounds like there may be...
Yeah, I'm going to make the motion to also send it to the CED committee.
Okay.
Second.
We do have a second. Any discussion?
Just to clarify, go ahead,
Oh, yeah, so, for me, again, it's if we got two different committees working on the same document, but if they're not talking to one another or meeting together, I don't know if that's going to create conflict or more work down the line. So again, that's why I think we usually send it to one subcommittee at a time to be worked on. Then if another committee, if that committee is then done with it, then, before taking it up as a council, we would move it on to the next committee.
Can I amend my motion?
What's that?
Can I amend? I'm going to...
Oh, yeah,
Can
sure.
I either withdraw my motion or amend it?
Well, you have the pending motion, so someone can make you can make a motion to amend, sure.
I guess I'll ask the maker of the motion to send it first to the Downtown Revitalization Committee and then to the CED Committee.
Second.
Does that procedurally work?
Right.
So I think that's ultimately ends up being a council decision. So I think the proper course is either, as you've proposed initially, where you send it to both now, or you wait till it comes back to council and then you make the motion to refer at that time.
Okay.
That's probably procedurally the cleanest way to do it.
Mr. Lindy, could I say something?
Yeah.
I mean, both you and Ms. Hunt were at the meeting. Who else is your committee member?
There
That's
isn't
all.
one.
No, exactly.
She's not a member of our committee, Downtown Committee.
I'm not a member
No,
of the
but you're both members of the CDC.
Right.
Do you have another one?
CED.
CED.
Sonia was the other member.
Right.
Okay, so since you both attended my committee meeting, why don't you just continue it so you can keep updated?
Well, that doesn't make us voting members of I don't consider myself to
Well,
be a
Mr.
member.
Lindy is, and we allowed, because you're on the, a council and on the other committee that you spoke and put your.
I think the problem with that is now you're having two committees, and you better post that as you're going to have to post it
double
as a
committees.
joint
That's gonna be a
committee
joint
meeting.
That's
Yeah.
all I'm looking to do. It is community and economic development. It may be downtown, but it's also community and economic development. One is a permanent committee, and the ad hoc committee is, correct me if I'm wrong, through you to the town attorney. The other committee, an ad hoc committee, is not a permanent standing committee. I think it's fine to go there, but I also I don't want maybe it's going to go to CED later on. I want it to also go to CED.
Well, I understand that, but again, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But I think we're also getting outside the scope of what we're really discussing here. But you could go ahead.
All right, well, so again, the only suggestion again is if we send it to one committee now, as the town attorney just said, when it comes back, we can send it back to the council. Then at that point in time, the motion could be made to send it to CED. Now, again, we have a standing member on both committees, one member of the council on both committees. So again, I don't know if it makes it a little stickier to do a joint meeting when we've got the same member on both committees to work at the same time or not. But I would certainly suggest that we, just like we've done with many subcommittee meetings, make it open to the council so other council members could come. That would allow Ms. Hunt to come and certainly have open discussion, which we've been having anyway. But again, just, for simplicity's sake, as the town attorney alluded to, if we just refer it to one committee, let that committee work it, let it be sent back to the council, and then the next time the council gets it, we can make that motion to send it to CED so they can formally review it as a subcommittee. And at that point, again, that might be down the line anyway because they're short a member now anyway. So that's why I suggested our committee do it first. It's going to take some legwork and a number of meetings to get someplace on it anyway, so we might be, by the election, we might be having a third member back on that committee. But, at least a third member being put on that committee, so it's a full committee to review it as well at that time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Councilor Kennedy?
Through you to the town attorney, Mr. President. Can a member who is on two committees hold seats at the same meeting on both committees? Or do they need to withdraw from one committee and hold a seat on one?
So it's a really good question. I've never actually done the legal research on that because it's never, ever come up. Certainly, we could look into that. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure why not, because there's no implicit conflict within that person, right? And they're both properly noticed meetings. They're going to deliberate in both of them. They act towards the quorum of both of them. It gets a little messy, but I'm not sure it changes whether they're at the same meeting or a different meeting, right? Because ultimately, it's still just one person, rendering a vote. And if they're making up a quorum of two bodies at the same time, it doesn't necessarily impact their vote. So I certainly could research it if that's something we want to dive into. It's a really interesting question. It's actually something that was crossing my mind as you were having the conversation, which kind of lended itself to what I think logistically makes the most sense, and that is what I had kind of described as the process, because it doesn't prejudice anyone to send it to one committee now, because at the next council meeting where it does come up, anyone can bring a motion forward again to refer it out. There's no prejudicial impact, I guess, by it not going to one committee now. You can always refer it out. So.
Does the, if that were to turn into a joint meeting and CED were to vote an opinion on that, does that need to be specifically sent from the town council to CED to have their meeting on the same item?
Well, I think what you would do is whatever you decide to send there, you send there. I'm not sure what's going to come back.
Sure.
Right? Maybe no changes.
I guess I'm asking, can they hear that item without it being sent to them?
Without the council sending it to them? No.
They can't, right? Okay.
No.
So
They have no independent authority to hear any item unless you all assign them that item, right? Any committee is just a committee of this body overall. So you all determine what committees hear what.
If it goes sent to CED as well, is CED and are they able to hold a joint meeting on that item?
Yes, I mean,
Need to be specifically a joint meeting.
yeah, if that's what they want to do, you can do that. You would, as long as it's posted. We run into that weird kind of inquiry that we'd want to look into, and I'm sure Councilor Lindy would want to look into it anyway, just to make sure that any votes he casts or opinions are valid. I don't see why they wouldn't be, just off the top of my head, based on practicality. But yeah, you could do that. You post them as a joint meeting, you hold them as a joint meeting. I mean, it's just the strangeness of having, one person being on both committees. I don't necessarily think that creates a conflict, but it's an interesting inquiry.
Okay, so the original motion by Councilor Lindy was to also refer to CED. Were you going to keep that motion? Because we're discussing that now.
I've seconded.
Yeah, it's seconded. So we have a
So that-
discussion. Did you want to make any amendments to that, or were you ready to vote on that?
Or that they be sent jointly to the two committees jointly?
I don't see what.
Sending it to downtown.
What was that?
You already voted sending it to downtown.
Yeah, so it's already going to downtown. So we're currently discussing if we were going to send over to CED. And I asked Councilor Murphy, Councilor Lindy, rather, if he
All
wanted
I'm
to.
asking for is after that meeting takes place for it to be referred. I'm not trying to usurp another committee.
Sure. I just don't procedurally, is that even possible?
No, it's not.
No, I don't think so, because you're not. You can vote that when it comes back.
We have to wait till it
right?
comes back. Yeah.
And
Okay.
you can bring it up, Mary Lee can
Yeah,
bring it up,
that's
anybody can bring it
just
up.
procedurally, the time to refer it is the time when it comes back,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't know, you don't know what's going to come back yet, right? So you can't really say if you would want to refer it or not, and anyone's perspective on that could change. So
Okay. So
you want
let's
to
just
vote
I
in
have a
actual
comment.
action.
I have a comment.
Sure.
I think that both committees ought to be looking at it simultaneously. And I say that because we need more eyes on what's going on the downtown. We need more eyes and more input, and to have one committee basically set the agenda kind of before it goes to the second committee, I don't think is right.
Mr. Lindy, I have no reason why we would not send it to you. You're on our committee, and we're not the only committee that, we have probably about 15 people at our meetings that, you know, their historical commission, the downtown's historic, it has its own laws. So I don't understand, I'm confused of why you don't think that,
Past practice.
well, I give you my word that I'll vote, okay, I give you my word that I'll vote for it to go to, because
The
I
TIF
said this
committee
to you
is
prior.
Separately.
Back and forth.
Yeah. No, I said to this
Anything
to
else, 'cause we got
prior.
to get to the question here, so.
Would it make sense if we support sending it to CED, is if your committee is open to just having a joint hearing to expedite the process of both committees hearing this at the same time?
I would be opposed to that personally, because it's just more coordination. I mean, that's just speaking for myself. Anybody else could feel free to chime in. I would like to see it just one place, one time, and then whoever's available to show up to that meeting, show up. Mary's been great about allowing participation from other counselors.
Mary's word is good enough for me.
I think this is the sort of thing that's going to take much more than one meeting.
Of course it is.
This is very big.
Very big.
And in former times, with other counselors, it would have gone to CED. CED was a committee of the council. The other committee was added later on, about in 2000, as a one-year committee, and then it was renewed every year. I can't find even any evidence.
So it's defunct then?
When that was happening. So it's fine. I'm not arguing against it. I mean, the committee is there. It's working. I don't see how it was, how it kept going, but it's going. So let them do things. I'm a little disappointed to try to serve on this council and be appointed to one committee that doesn't meet. That's CED. So.
And the only reason I'm not voting you, I wanted to go back to you, but we're the ones that started this whole process. Your committee didn't. So we want to keep the process going because we're right in the middle of something. We're not voting on to do a blight. We're looking at a lot of different things. So I'd like to finish it up and send it to you, but that's because we started it. You guys, your committee did not. So I'd like to tie up the ends and then send it forth. Okay. That's why we put this forth, just to get this done.
I think what has concerned me is I sit here in meetings and something comes up and gets assigned to your committee. Nothing has been assigned to CED except the one that we had, when Sonia was here. And we voted on that so that we had one thing that we've ever met about, when there are many things that our committee should be meeting about for downtown, for Bridgewater CED, and we're not being asked to do anything.
One more thing, this was not assigned to us. We decided to do this on our own, our committee.
Just on that question, didn't the town attorney just tell us that we're only supposed to act on things that were assigned? Which is it?
It was,
Right,
not to speak for
that's
Mary,
why we're assigning this to a committee to be acted on.
Wait a minute. Mary just said,
Let me just clarify. So, first of all, I would recommend that everybody watch the downtown revitalization meetings. They're excellent. They're very thorough. There's a lot of people in there. I did watch, and this was discussed. And then Mary put forward legislation, hoping that it will go back to her committee. But she's not acting on behalf of her committee, asking and proposing legislation. She's acting on her position as a counselor to put forward legislation, hoping that it goes back. So that's how I see it.
Mr. Linney, as being part of the committee, you knew that I was looking at what you guys had prior, you and Council Perry had prior discussed. And some of the things you guys had prior discussed was the buildings in the downtown. Therefore, we took that back up.
I understand that, but
So it wasn't assigned.
committee that I serve on as chair, there was another committee in past practices created to create a TIF district when in fact it should have gone to CED. And I don't want history to repeat itself. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I accept your word and pledge to refer it to us afterwards. So I'm fine with that. I will withdraw my motion.
Okay, let's move on. Order FY 26 26-052, CPC additional funds, restoration of Parthenon frieze. I'll ask our town manager just to introduce this for us, please.
This is order to fund the additional costs associated with the Parthenon frieze project. The additional expense was $3,300 or so. But there is also a request from the CPC for an additional $1,000 for a storyboard. So that we'll review that as part of this process. So.
Thank you. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion to refer to Budget and Finance Committee.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, proposed ordinance FY 26-011, amend Part 2 of the Administrative Code, Chapter 1, Article 3, multiple members, appointive bodies. I'll ask Councilor Kennedy to introduce this for us.
So this is removing a member who is designated as a member of a specific committee, the Affordable Housing Trust Committee. It's a defunct committee, and what this allows the CPC to do is appoint 2 at-large members instead of holding a reserve for a committee that isn't in existence.
Thank you for that.
And hold on one sec. There's also additional language in here, just make sure I cover everything. There's been a lot of talk from the public on Water and Sewer Board, and filling those positions, we had some language in here that has been amended as well. It changes the 3 members who were serving from having an engineering and public health experience, which could be very vague, to water and wastewater experience. I spoke to the town manager over that because the town manager ultimately puts those appointments in front of us. That covers quite a bit of jobs. It also puts professionals in that position to actually review our water and sewer committee. And then it also strikes the language that they recommend user rates. I think the user rates are, 1, it's a vote from the council on whether or not that's going to change. 2, we've had presentations specifically on the rates themselves. I think we have seen the trend of low recommended rates. I know people don't want their water bills to go up, especially with everything else we have going on. But unfortunately, if we don't have, as we saw in the presentation, a slow build, what we end up with is large percentage increases to correct problems. So this just removes the language from that as a recommendation that comes to the council. So.
Thank you for that. So I would entertain a motion to send this to Rules and Procedures for them to work through this a little bit more and then bring it back to the council.
So moved.
Second.
Made and a second. Thank you. Any discussion?
I have one thing.
Sure.
Mr. Kennedy, thank you for doing always a thorough job, but I disagree with taking away the Agricultural Commission. I know we haven't been able to fill it, but I have been looking at different areas. The BSU has a sustainable garden, so I want to speak to them. If anybody lives in Bridgewater, if they could, I want to approach the farms in town to see if they want to. And we have students for Bristol Aggie, and they can be on as non-voting members. So I'd like to keep that, to keep safe our farmland and our open space, and give me at least a chance to see if I can fulfill it.
Okay.
That's it.
Can I?
And then you guys are on Rules and Procedures together, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I would agree with Councilor McGrath. We have 2 sending agricultural schools. We sent to Bristol and Norfolk Aggie, and I think being a community, which is a farming community, and we had a state prison here that had a farm at one point. I'd love to see a Plymouth County agricultural school in Bridgewater. So I think it's valuable to keep it into.
Okay. Anything further?
One comment to Councilor Kennedy, maybe consider, I think I commend you for doing a better job of writing what the requirements would be for the 3 members of the Water and Sewer Board, but I would just ask that maybe you consider, I think it's loosely defined, and how we follow up on those requirements of whether somebody has water or wastewater experience, I think is always up to interpretation. One thing I would consider is maybe eliminating that altogether, and only because, I think we as councilors or other similar committees that we have in town, we don't typically have a minimum requirement or a requirement of the past. I don't know about planning board or others, but for the most part, we don't have that requirement. If folks are willing to invest their time and learn about, whatever it is that they're willing to join a committee about, I think that should just be considered as well too. So that's just my opinion on that piece. If somebody's willing to put in the time and effort and learn the process and then give some advisory responses or input, I think that should be considered. But again, how we define somebody who has water or wastewater experience, I think is, again, very loose, and I don't know.
I don't disagree when searching for language to try to put people in the position who may have some knowledge of that. It is, to some levels, up to interpretation as to what that is. I provided recommended lists, which is not included in this, to the town manager just as a conversation starter, because we can't, it's still under his purview to send those to us as recommendations. But trying to find language, unless I guess it is completely open. I guess my question would be is, with everything we have going on, and having nobody on the board with prior experience to even guide a new member, I know that that situation takes place on other boards where new members come on and they're guided. I wouldn't be opposed to changing it. I also wouldn't be opposed to changing it in the future if there was a solidified member that was able to say, these are the things we look at, this is how we do the process. My goal is really just to try to get it up and going with people that are able to contribute immediately, but I wouldn't be opposed to either of those, I guess, necessarily. There were other, does that cover?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's-
appreciate it.
Yeah.
As far as the affordable house, it's a defunct committee, and it's creating a scenario where we don't have that member appointed. This has also been run by CPC. They want to fill their committee out all the way. It doesn't mean that if someone in any of those areas comes up as an at-large member, they can't be appointed to that position. It just gives it's their option as an at-large. That's kind of where I land on that, I guess. It's currently not filled. That committee has not been active. So instead of holding one seat hostage in the hopes that somebody comes along and joins a committee solo that won't be able to do any work or meet, it gives them the opportunity. Again, if that committee, I guess, formulates and it makes sense to add them back on there, all of this stuff is admin code, so it can be changed again and ratified. And if we feel that those two at-large members aren't able to represent enough committees together, we'd change the designation for them. I think that's appropriate. I think the stuff with this is that it is workable and living, and we're able to make adjustments if we need to in the future. That's how I was viewing those, but the CPC, I feel pretty strong on allowing them to get another member on board to do work. And the other one, I see your points on that. That was a bit of a struggle to try to narrow that down without literally creating a job application list for requirements. So at the end of the day, those come through the town manager right before us, and he's going to have some say on that as well. So we'll discuss more rules of procedure, but I don't disagree with your point.
Yeah.
Could I just add a thing here? There is a committee, it's a town manager committee that vets everyone who applies for any committees, and they vet them and they talk to them and they find out what their expertise is and all of that sort of thing before they recommend them to the town manager, who then vets them on his own and all of that. So it's not like people can just kind of apply and walk in. They're processed. And then I was going to say something about, what was the last thing that you talked about? Going back to the first thing.
The CPC.
The CPC. So if there is a person on the CPC who's there for the affordable housing itself has to be a committee of 4. They have to be legally put into that committee. I remember when it was first formed, and there were the 4 people that our former town manager was trying to get on there. They had to go to court, and they had to do things that they had to do to be assigned to that committee before they could actually be a member of that committee. And then one of those people could serve on the CPC. So that's kind of something that's really much more seriously vetted, and that's a matter of whether the town manager wants that kind of a committee, the Affordable Housing Committee. So that's a big legal deal.
All right, if there's no further than,
Just a quick question. I know that CPC, I previously served on the Housing Authority, and I know they've had a terrible problem having the rep from the Housing Authority actually be part of that committee. They haven't had representation, and kind of like what Sean was saying about holding hostage a seat, you know, it's kind of troublesome to not have a full complement to work with them.
And that wasn't a full house, that